Okay, continue on shutting the hell up because your teacher was hospitalized due to falling for 2 hours. You'd think someone would have turned off the escalator, but I guess it's a wild world out there, so you got me instead. And not gonna lie, this class is about to get meta. Education. Education means knowledge. Knowledge is power, and power stems from greed, and if my research is correct, greed is a sin. So by that string of logic, being an educated member of society is a sin. But in some shape or form, there is education everywhere, from a crash course on how to pour a beer to subtly learning how to be yourself despite peer pressure with a musical. However, with video games, it's different. Tutorials are the entry-level form of education within gaming, teaching players on the basic mechanics of the games, but for elite gamers, they're more or less just friendly reminders of how the game works, only really needing them if we haven't touched the game, like a failed marriage, or for a confusing-ass puzzle that you spent half your day trying to figure out, much like a failed marriage. The most notable example of tutorials that I prefer is with games like Resident Evil, Doom, or COD, as the tutorial is an optional setting through pop-ups that you can just turn off and isn't selling you penis enlargement pills. But you know what tutorials I don't vibe with? The ones that you can't switch off, but also slows down the entire game to hammer in a point that is very much common sense. Ghost Recon Wildlands is an example of this because not only the HUD is so cluttered with Tony Stark bullshit, but whenever it needs to hammer in a key point, it pulls up a fucking tutorial video that gets annoying to skip, and it's unavoidable even if you do turn off the tutorial option. And I'm just trying to run over my friend here, not fucking watch a how-to basic video. However, tutorials in general are a key characteristic, but also a fundamental in gaming. Like how running water is important to have a swimming pool, but I guess a swimming pool with no water is just a very large ashtray. Upgrades, people. Upgrades. The upgrade system works as another layer of education within the game, as both you and your character can learn either a skill set such as fight combos, upgrading weaponry, or boost up their stamina or health by being less of a bitch. Most of any action games has this feature, but I think the most interesting one are Souls-like leveling system, as it does help to pump up the stats. But it simultaneously doesn't matter, as the only thing that's important about these games is how you approach a battle. Like, are you ripping open an asshole or are you creating one? But my experience with Bloodborne was that my second time fighting Father Gascoigne was way easier than it was the first time. And it wasn't the case of I used a different weapon or had different stats or even completed the game. My character was still the same person, but the only thing that was different was just my attitude and knowledge of the boss fight, which is very cool, and I think From Software are the people who mastered this type of leveling system, where most games upgrade system, they kind of just give you a buff, and it doesn't really matter how you play it. I think Belatro's system is a pretty interesting one because it's not leveling up or an upgrade system, as the Joker card can either hold your hand through the game, but also could just flip the table on you and make you want to eat a bullet. The whole upgrade system primarily exists to hint to the player, hey, things are gonna get a little harder, and I ain't talking about my wiener. But despite the importance, I do feel like there is an aspect to it where it becomes superfluous. I know, fancy words that I can barely pronounce, but I don't even know what it means. But this graph I made pretty much illustrates that if a game is designed to be challenging as you progress further on, isn't an upgrade system merely just to give the illusion of progress whilst dropping the difficulty threshold? And if that's the system and a game is still challenging, then have the developers start us with a disadvantage from the start? Betting for us to lose? Does anything we do matter? What is the meaning of life? Who the hell am I? So copy it and zip it, no questions. Okay, even though I'm the only one talking here. However, the center of this onion is games that are actually designed for educational purposes, which is a nice gesture, but also hilarious, as there are actual games/simulators that are actually pretty useful for this, but there are some of them that just don't make sense. Minecraft has an education edition to repurpose the game just so Mojang could stop receiving hate mail from parents about how their kids became stupid. It's gone to the point that we now have a civil rights DLC for Minecraft, where you can experience the stories of Rosa Parks, Nelson Mandela, and Malala, all in Minecraft. Which, not gonna lie, I thought Fortnite would have done first, alongside many other historical figures. involving a man with a tiny mustache. But using a popular game to hammer in education is child's play. Okay, how about a popular console? Or in this case, the DS. If you don't know the Nintendo DS, it was kind of like a less advanced Switch, but with enough riz to kill a horse. It was probably the only console that had educational games on it, such as Brain Challenge, Brain Age, Learn with Pokemon, My Word Coach, My Spanish Coach, Brain Age 2 Electric Boogaloo, My SAT Coach, My Weight Loss Coach, My Stop Smoking Coach, which is hilarious considering the game is rated PEGI free. Because apparently every kid was smoking except me, but in fairness, I was stuck on My Stop Eating Play-doh Coach. Hell, even Mario got his lineup of educational games, and he's a plumber. I'm just saying, there is a Matt Damon in everyone. And I guess I like apples.
How do you like them?
I said I like them, Matt. I said God damn it. I'll even throw in playing Papa's Pizzeria on cool maths games as educational, because whenever we were in the computer room and a teacher would come by and be like, are you playing games? Whilst I clearly have Papa's Pizzeria open, I'll be like, miss, it's math. Of the cool variety. So leave me the fuck alone. And then she'd leave me the heck alone as I secretly boot up Minecraft from my USB. Deception 100. Couldn't really get away with porn was for biology though. So did it really matter? Despite the productivity factor to these games, I feel like they're more for parents or teachers to sort of mediate or kind of put their mind at ease that their child won't become the next Ted Bundy, because that could happen if they played Sims 4. But these games have fizzled into the background since the invention of the Apple iPad. Because not gonna lie, there's a concerning amount of iPad kids out there. One of my friend's babies seems to be on the arc of becoming an iPad kid, mainly because that child is 2 years old and is strapped to a pram watching Peppa Pig instead of playing darts with the unks. But as a very distant and nuclear uncle, the only thing I can do is give the baby a dusty PS4 with Resident Evil 7 on it and pray that the baby doesn't come out stupid. Or traumatized. But honestly, video games itself are educational, dude, as they can more or less teach you about an aspect of subjects or shape ideas, and in some cases, actually improving cognitive skills. Want to learn about history or two? Boot up some Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed. Maybe that one Jesus game if you're Catholic. Want to learn about the street life? How about some GTA, Mafia, or Sleeping Dogs? Want to learn how to read? Here you go. Have whatever visual novel that someone makes on itch.io, but be careful of the not safe for work ones. Computer science. Meet my boy Watch Dogs. Sex education. Your Honor, The Witcher 2, or 3. But for an extra curriculum with a diploma of turn-based strat, Baldur's Gate 3. Emotionally crippled? Silent Hill 2. Physically crippled? Death Stranding. That's a dark joke. I could list examples for hours, but the gist of this is video games are good for you. Source? Trust me, bro. But the point of this video is that there is something to learn somewhere, which is the reason why there's book smarts and street smarts. And there isn't one that matters more than the other. Hell, you can call my friends dumb as hell, but I'll bet all my money that they'll fuck you up in a quiz about bugs and dinosaurs. But if a lesson or an idea is aligned with your interest in any shape or form, it's certainly a W in my book. But according to the Amish Bible, I'm a sinner, so to the Irish jig it is. Okay, class, let's go over what we learned. Video games are good for you. All of the Lights by Kanye is a sad song that sounds epic. To be beautiful is to be hunted. And My Stop Eating Play-doh Coach didn't help. So yeah, since the bell doesn't go off for another hour, talk amongst yourself. Leave down in the comments what stuff have games taught you. I'm gonna feast in the canteen because I forgot to play Cooking Mama and pack lunch. So I'll see y'all in the next class where I talk about stealing Billie Eilish's lunch. Thanks for watching.
I'm going to fly for you.